It's the midweek edition of Business Morning here on Channels Television. Good morning and welcome. I'm Amy John Mekwa. We start off with commodities market. Chicago wheat slid for a third consecutive session Wednesday, trading near a 5-week low with expectations of higher Black Sea supplies and improved U.S. weather weighing on the market. Soybeans gained more ground while corn edged lower. The most active wheat contract on the Chicago Board of Trade fell 0.2% to $8.33 a bushel after touching its lowest since September the 20th, which was $8.26. And soybeans added 0.3% to $13.95 half a bushel, and corn lost 0.1% to $6.85 half a bushel. Sluggish U.S. wheat exports and competitive prices for Russian and Ukrainian supplies have loomed over wheat markets, offsetting worries that a United Nations-backed shipping corridor may close and the agreement may not be renewed. Now to the oil space. Prices eased today after industry data showed U.S. crude stockpiles rose more than expected, but losses were capped by supply worries. Brent crude futures for December fell 72 cents to $92.80 a barrel after settling 26 cents higher in the previous session. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures for December was down 48 cents to $84.84, and that's reversing the previous session's gain. A stronger dollar also weighed on the markets. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against 6 major pairs, inched up to 111.02. A firmer dollar dampens demand for oil as it makes crude more expensive for those holding other currencies. Now back in Nigeria, fuel queues have once again resurfaced in Lagos as motorists seek to fill their tanks, and they were seen struggling to get products at various petrol stations. Although most of the motorists say they do not know the cause of the queues, they are appealing to authorities to address the scarcity before it gets out of hand. It's important to note that for a couple of weeks now in the Federal Capital Territory, this has been a constant. The picture of queues at filling stations, that has been alluded to. The flood, which has stopped distribution of petroleum products from states like Kogi into the Federal Capital Territory, and so we've seen that for some weeks now in Abuja, but however in Lagos we see it resurfacing since yesterday. The Managing Director of Nigerian Ports Authority, Mr. Mohammed Koko, has stated that rogue vessels like those used to steal crude oil in the country turn off their automatic identification system, AIS, to avoid detection in Nigerian waters. He was addressing State House correspondents at the weekly ministerial briefing in Abuja. He also spoke against the backdrop of a recent incident where an oil tanker evaded arrest in Nigeria after illegally lifting crude oil.
For 3 weeks, the Nigerian maritime sector has come under the spotlight. At the 55th session of the ministerial weekly briefing, this time it is a turn of the Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority.
NPA.
Technology and theft are among major impediments for the authority, and one that stands out is the Vessel Traffic Service, which is critical to tracking rogue vessels on the Nigerian water.
The intelligent persons bringing in vessels to steal crude, one of the things they do is they shut down the AIS. This is what is needed in terms of transmission for you to even know the vessel comes in. And the locations they go into, they come in legally, but then they go by the left-hand side to commit illegal activities after switching off their AIS. Once you switch it on, it actually shows the person looking for that vessel all the locations that vessel have been, for how long, and on what date. And this is what Nigerian Ports Authority needs. This is what the nation needs. Smaller African countries have had these things for so long, and it is now that we are working to ensure that these systems are deployed in Nigeria. We are going ahead to deploy what they call the VTS. And then we are working with NASDA to also have information in terms of vessel movement.
In spite of an increase in cargo traffic, particularly in Calabar and Onne, theft of buoys worth millions of naira and insecurity along the Eastern Maritime Corridor is another crucial challenge.
Because some of them, nature takes some of them away, they go adrift. But those that go adrift, if they go adrift, you'll be able to monitor and find them because they have transponders that can make them easy for you to identify where they are. So, but some of them mostly are stolen and turned to scraps, and that has affected navigation in those channels, and it had made it difficult for vessels to operate in those locations.
According to him, the Nigerian Ports Authority has managed to rake in more revenue in an upward trend. Between January and September 2022 alone, the authority raked in 259 billion naira as revenue. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, that's right. We want to see what's going on in the maritime sector in Nigeria. Following up on that report, there's been also conversations around indigenous ship owners accusing foreign shipping firms of breaching the cabotage law, calling on the federal government to clamp down on foreign vessels operating in the nation's coastal water illegally. Well, I want to look at the issues around that and the reports you just watched now, talking about what's going on in the maritime. We've talked about crude oil theft for a couple of months now, trying to find solutions to that. Well, let's have someone who is in that industry. We have Mr. Festus Mbisiogu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Blue Diamond Logistics Limited. He joins us here in the studio. Mr. Mbisiogu, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
so we hear of what's going on our waters. And the issue of crude oil thefts is also happening on the waters. Yeah. Share with us, I know that's not your core area, but just share with us from your perspective as a stakeholder in the maritime industry. What's going on really? Why are we hearing of so much crude oil thefts these days on our waters? Why now? What's going on?
Well, I want to start by saying that the present administration have just waken up to their responsibility by dictating some of these things that is happening in our waterways. These things have been there for a very long time, and there is this committee that was set up, and that committee is working tirelessly to ensure that they discover why we're having this oil theft.
So, okay, but it's obviously been going on for a while.
Yeah, it has been going on.
It's just now that we are getting to talk about it, not to know. I think a lot of us know. And then we also see ship owners complaining that they are being shortchanged.
Yes, one of the case of the ship owners, the indigenous ship owners, they complained 2 days ago, or it's like they alerted the nation of what is ahead of them. That's in the sense that Dangote refineries is about to commence next year, middle of next year. And fertilizer, Dangote fertilizer is almost coming on board. Yeah. And these ship owners, the law, in fact, let us understand this cabotage law first. When we have the insight of the cabotage law, why it was created, the law was created to protect the indigenous ship owners in the country, giving them that access to dominate this very maritime sector. But now they are complaining that they don't have this very financial capacity to compete with the foreign ship owners. And there is this intervention from this financing fund from the government, about $350 million that the government proposed to give to these guys. And these actors have not had access to this very fund. And they are complaining, look, government, something is coming up next year. These foreign ship owners are gearing towards what is going to happen if Dangote refineries kicks up. And they don't have the financial capacity. They're asking government disburse this money to us for us to compete. In fact, what they're doing is to alert the government that this is what is coming up. And if they do not take proactive measures there'll be capital flights, meaning that these ship owners, foreign ship owners, will make the money and take it back to their own country. So it's a welcome development, and I pray that government will just listen to their call.
Yeah, we pray that the government will listen, and so that at the end of the day, we're not celebrating, because I know we've been waiting for Dangote refineries for a while, and we keep talking about it. We're expectant that with it coming on board, there will be some changes on the scene. But
no, just like I said before, they are just trying to be proactive, and it's a welcome development.
Yeah.
See, their fear is this: if Dangote refinery takes up next year, the fertilizer too is ongoing. There's a whole lot of activities in that maritime sector, and with that activities now, they don't have enough fleet. They don't have enough fleet to compete with these foreign investors.
Yes.
So they are telling government, please, if you don't do anything urgent, these guys will dominate, and the essence of this law will be defeated.
All right. So now let's talk about our waters. You trade on water, you do logistics on water. How safe are our waters? And we've heard a lot of reports of goods or ships coming in and berthing in neighboring countries, you know, and then I think people like you would now move those things to Nigeria and all that. And with the Deep Blue projects, we thought things like this would be in the past. Is it working?
Well, but if you can look at the current rating from international maritime sector, they told us that Nigerian waterways are safer now to compare with the previous years. That was the rating that was released last few weeks. So that's why I said the present administration seems to be doing well in that very regard, because it's in their own regard, in their own regime, that we start discovering of these oil depths and discovering of some of the things happening in waterways.
But has it stopped foreign ships from berthing in neighboring waters instead of coming directly to Nigeria?
No, maybe you can now expand it. Why some foreign ship preferred other countries, like the neighboring border countries, Cotonou and the rest of them, is a result of the conjunction of what is going on here in our country. Let me just digress more. When you talk of logistics, what we are discussing about the management of the inflow, okay, of goods or services from the original place to the final destination, right? So, and to meet companies' objective or customers' needs. These are the essence of logistics. But now, this essence is being hampered with because of so many things that's going on at the seaport. Maybe we are going to discuss furthermore. You see some of the impediments or some of the obstacles that some importers or business owners are having of consigning their consignment into their country here. It's not only because of the waterways are not safe. There's other things that makes this shipping company to stop at Cotonou and use smaller vessels to bring their consignment down to our country.
What
There's
are
other
those
factors.
Other
Other factors are so many of them, like congestion at the seaport here. Before. In fact, there's so many of them. Like, let me start me as a shipper from China, Blue Diamond Logistics. We found out that if you want to ship your consignment to Cotonou, it's about 1,000 to 2,000 different. The charges, they may charge you $7,000, but sending to Cotonou, they may charge you $5,000. And I want to know more. The reason why they charge this price is because if they send this cargo to Nigeria, it took them almost 2 months to have access to their empty containers because of this bureaucracy, because of these difficulties hampering the logistics section. So these are the factors. There are so many of them, which I may not have time to give more insight.
So what should we do about it?
I think what government should do about it, there are so many of them, because if government do not take proactive steps now, a whole lot will happen. As I speak to you now, many importers don't consider it wise sending their cargoes to our port. They prefer Cotonou port. Okay, reason why, they said it took them almost 2 weeks. When a container land at our seaport, it took almost 1 or 2 weeks to transfer that container to the private bonded terminals. Almost 1 or 2 weeks to transfer. And also, if on the port of clearing this, after clearing this container from that bonded terminal, the kinds of agencies that stop them on the road are so many. The thing is frustrating them. Now, why at Cotonou you paid a lesser duty? If the cost of clearing 40 feet is about 7 million naira in Nigeria, Cotonou, if you convert it to Nigerian money, about 3.5 or 4 million naira, about 30% discount from the total cost of clearing it here in Nigeria. So most of them prefer doing their business there, and it's at the detriment of our national economy development.
And of course, like you said, it's at the end of the day when we calculate our GDP, these are some of the things that we are missing at the end of the day when we calculate.
And that is why government need to pay attention to our logistics, this maritime sector, and try to do more research and find out some of these impediments.
Well, you are the research. That's why we're asking you the question.
Yes.
What should they be doing?
So now, let me just give you, the maritime sector, the revenue as of 2021 to 2020 is about 1.3 billion from the customs, almost 28% of our national budget. That is what they contributed. And in logistics sector, industry, they are the highest employer of labor. Okay? And
after agriculture?
After agriculture. The largest economy. That's one of the largest, if I can put it this way. Okay? And all over the world, if any country pays attention to logistics section, honestly speaking, it will attract more inflow of foreign direct investment, and also bringing more dollar because of the effectiveness. Let me just give you more insight now again, just as I enumerated before. For us businessmen, we factor in the cost of bringing these containers down to our final destination. And as I speak to you now, the cost is going so high, very, very high. Okay. As I said before, apart from me being into manufacturing, into logistics, I'm also into manufacturing. Some of the truck that we send to other parts of the country, like the Abuja, Kaduna, Jos, and so on, that truck has been on the road for more than 1 week, more than 1 month and 1 week, some 3 weeks, because of this flooding. Okay? And that hampers logistics. With this, it's too difficult for an economy like Nigeria to grow.
Okay, so let's go back to that empty container issue you talked about.
Okay.
Because I think management of the empty containers at the port has been a headache for a while.
Yeah.
How is it done in other places, other countries? How do they manage that? Because sometimes when we talk about congestion at the port or on the way to the port, we check and then we see that it's the empty containers being returned to the port that also causes a major part of that congestion. Now, you've also mentioned it, it's also a discouraging factor, the way it is being managed. How is it being managed outside Nigeria?
Okay, let me use China as a case study, where we domicile, and Dubai as a case study. In these very areas, they have good roads. Okay? They planned their cities, meaning where these ports are located. A specific area, a particular area is being a kind of mapped out for these holding bays of these empty containers. That have been structured. But over here in Nigeria, we don't have that very structure. You can see somebody who have an bonded terminal far, almost how many kilometers from the seaport. And accessing this very terminal where these containers will be kept will be too difficult. Too difficult for for them to convey their empty container to that very place. So the system is faulty from beginning. It wasn't well planned. That's why the bonded terminals or the holding bays are scattered all over. So the structure, we need to replan a kind of that's why some people are calling for more creation of additional port, either in the southeast and so on, so that it can help to decongest Lagos, because attention focuses in Lagos here.
But even those ports in those other states are not as active as Lagos. It seems, in spite of the fact that we do have ports in other places.
Look at the population in Lagos. You can't compare.
So how can we redirect traffic to these other states?
I think Lagos State is doing something by this Lekki Free Zone. That will also help. If that's commenced, it will also help to decongest what are passing through at seaport.
But it will still be in Lagos.
It will still be, but the place has been created, so it will help.
All right, Mr. Mbissiogu, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Chief Executive Officer of Blue Diamond Logistics Limited. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take a break now. After the break, we'll head to AFEX Commodities Market, see how they did for the week ended the 24th of October. To join us again after this break. It's a green week chart. It's a green chart for the weekend, 24th of October on the AFEX Commodities Exchange. We have David Ukumadu, a strategy and corporate finance analyst with AFEX, joining us from our Abuja studio. Hi, David. Good morning. Bring us up to date with the details of the trade.
Good morning, Ini. Thank you for having me. So over the course of the trading week, we saw an increase in total turnover of about 48.78%, moving from 0.41 billion naira to close the week at 0.61 billion naira. While the total volume traded saw an increase of about 74.67%, moving from just over 1,237,000 contracts to close the week at just over 2,160,000 contracts. The number of deals saw an increase of about 49.83%, moving from 291 deals to close the week at 436 deals. While the ACI, which is the AFEX Commodities Index, remained unchanged. The AFEX Export Index, however, saw an increase of about 0.94%, moving from 198.44 basis points to close the week at 200.30 basis points. Moving on to the volume of contracts traded on the exchange, we saw the price of maize rise from 3,535 contracts to close the week at 807,394 contracts. Soybeans also increased from 200,738 contracts to close the week at 529,729 contracts. Paddy rice saw an increase of about moving from 781 contracts to close the week at 300,195 contracts. Sorghum, however, declined from 1,001,000 contracts, 710, to 519,467 contracts. Moving on to price changes for the week, we saw an increase in maize of about 0.73%, representing 1.52 naira, to close the week at 710 naira. While paddy rice saw an increase of about 5.56%, representing 15 naira, to close the week at 285 naira. Clean sorghum, however, saw a decline of about 1%, representing 2.91 naira, to close the week at 288.05 naira. Soybean also saw a decline of about 4.30%, representing 16.66 naira, to close the week at 371.15 naira. All other commodities remained unchanged. For more information on the commodities market, you can always check out our website at African Exchange and our social media handle at COMEX by AFEX.
All right, David, thank you so much. David Ukumadu is a strategy and corporate finance analyst with AFEX. Thank you so much for giving us the details.
Yeah, thank you.
We're still staying in AFEX. AFEX has invested in financial education initiatives to enhance financial literacy among investors and improve participation for retail and institutional investors in the commodities market. Since its inception, the exchange has executed several robust education campaigns to deepen the financial market knowledge and confidence of investors through digitally distributed learning materials, data-driven market reports, webinars, and outreach programs, which have driven up active participation in the commodities market. We have joining us here in the studio in Lagos, Stephanie Mills, to give us details of this and how much impact this has made. Stephanie Mills is the head COMEX retail financial market for AFEX. Hi, Stephanie. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Edie.
Good to have you.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you here. So we see all the things you say you have done. Tell us how impactful and how you've been able to achieve this since inception.
Okay, yes. Financial literacy is very fundamental in ensuring that every investor is well informed and they're able to make informed decisions and create wealth. And to do this, three things must happen. Information needs to be timely, it needs to be reliable, and it needs to be accessible. So we at AFEX have been able to do this through different initiatives. We've been able to collaborate with different stakeholders in the commodities market space, from regulators to capital market operators, and even the investors themselves, to ensure that we're able to bridge this gap. We've been able to partner with the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers to be able to include commodities trading in their training modules, and this has made it reliable and accessible. We've also partnered with private and public universities to provide financial literacies to students. And this is us saying you're not too young to start investing and understanding the investment landscape. And lastly, we've also been able to reduce the barrier to entry. Last year, we were able to reduce our contract size from 100 kg to 1 kg per unit, meaning that you're able to invest with as little as 10,000 naira. No income bracket is excluded, and this is us saying that this is an inclusive market that everybody can play in. Yeah.
I like the part about the university, because catching them young is very really important.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where the future is. And talking about sustaining this, what about sustainable finance and the issue of de-risking the sector to attract more participation?
So to start with, investors need to know the risks that are inherent in the market. I'll touch on three main risks. We have the price risk, which is associated with the loss of portfolio value. And we've been able to mitigate this by providing timely market data through our daily and weekly price reports that we share on our platform and even here on channels. We've also provided a price band that reduces that price volatility for investors. And then we have the commodities risk, which is associated with loss of commodities or damage of commodities. And we've mitigated that by having a comprehensive insurance cover on our accredited warehouses. And lastly, we have the credit risk, which is a risk that can occur when another party or any party in a contract doesn't fulfill their part. And we've been able to have a contract that ensures that this is mitigated. We ensure that we collect collateral of up to 1.2 times the amount that will be disbursed to fund seekers. So all of this has been done to ensure that the risks are reduced. And we have innovative products that suit different investors' risk appetites, right? So your high-risk investor, we have the spot market that gives you the high returns that they're looking for. For the medium investor, we have fixed income investments that gives you the guarantee on your return on investment at specified period of time. And for medium to low-risk investors, we have our fair exchange traded commodity, which over time has been able to be inflation-proof and provide an hedge against exchange rates. Yes, I'm very sure that a lot of investors that invested in our last one are very happy. The last one matured in September and did a 30.5%, which if you look at the present inflation rate, which is slightly above 20%.
Yeah, 20.77.
Exactly. So you're able to hedge against that, and that's a good way to prepare for the recession coming.
Yeah. Don't
Well,
scare us.
Well, it's good to be informed. This is the World Investors Week by the International Organization of Securities Commission, and it's a globally recognized week, which is aimed at financial literacy for investors, right? And the theme for this year is investors' resilience and sustainable finance, and it couldn't have been more. The topic could have been perfect because of this present time that we are in with the macroeconomic factors that we're seeing, which will affect a lot of investors' portfolio value. So it's very important to understand what is coming ahead so you can prepare.
Prepare and hedge.
Yes, exactly.
So all of this that you have listed that AFEX has been doing, what change has it brought to the landscape, the commodities landscape in Nigeria, in Africa? I know you guys also operate outside Nigeria.
Yes. So over the past 8 years, AFEX has been primarily focused on helping Africa feed itself. And we've been able to do that by providing access to markets, to finance and infrastructure in the commodities values chain. We started up in Nigeria. We've been able to expand to other African countries, Kenya and now Uganda, and more to come in the coming years. We've been able to provide support to smallholder farmers by providing quality inputs and training to be able to increase their yield production. We've also been able to be their first point of identification by providing them bank verification and adding them to the Nigerian database. For the investors, we've reduced the barrier to entry, provided them with support with brokers, broker-dealers to provide that advisory for them as well. And for infrastructure, we've been able to we have the largest network of warehouses. We have about over 140 warehouses across 26 states. And this warehouses not just serve as storage facility, but also help to securitize the physical commodities that we can then list on the exchange.
Are they open to, smallholder farmers?
Yes, definitely, which also provides access to market for them. So they're already off-takers that ensures that the yield that they're able to produce are able to be sold off, and then they can make money and increase their livelihoods, which is what we are very aimed at doing. And all our goals are closely aligned with the United Nations SDG goals.
Yeah, well, that's very important for us. Food security is a major thing.
Yeah.
A hungry man cannot invest.
At all.
A hungry man cannot even stay in peace with his neighbors. So we need to deal with that food security.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie Mill,
so much,
for Head Comex Retail Finance Market with AFEX. Thank you.
Thank you very much
for your enlightenment this morning.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Let's take a breather, and then we'll be back. Yeah, welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning here on Channels Television. We just left the AFEX market, heading to the money market in Nigeria. And of course, who's doing that with us this week is Will Ibong. Will, you're happier than I am. I reported the market last night,
yes,
so I know why you're happy.
Because it's a morning and I bring good tidings.
Let's talk about that, the close of trade today.
Yes, and we saw yesterday, yesterday the NGX buying interest was actually 94%. SILE was at 6%, so you can imagine that's a whole margin. 0.74%, 73%, that's a whole lot for you.
Yes, it is.
You know, you really said that they're going to take advantage of the dip, and they really are. You said the analysts did say that, you know, they're gearing up to do that, and we begin to see the effect.
Positioning to take over.
Yeah. Yes, definitely taking over. But we're going to jump with the FX, I mean the fixed income market, where we saw calm trading yesterday. It was open on a calm note with pockets of trades consummated at the short end of the curve. There's more emphasis centered on the 2026 paper yesterday, which was trading at about 13.85%, while the 2037 paper offers were at 15.9%. Now we saw offers for the 2029 paper, but not a lot was consummated at the end of the, though it was trading at 14.45%, but not a lot was due to weak demand for that particular paper. Now, average yields remain the same across the benchmark securities, but we are anticipating more calm trading today as attention shifts to the NTB primary market auction, which is going to take place today. Now, despite the OMO maturity, which we saw yesterday of about 30 billion naira, Treasury bills secondary market didn't open still on a calm notes, you know, because participants were trading cautiously, anticipating what's going to take place today. Now, closing rates remain largely unchanged from the opening levels. But we're expecting, should we expect more quiet trading? Choma will do fixed income dealer, GT Bank will give us more insights on that. Good morning, Choma. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Choma, we're seeing more buy interest on the short end of the bond curve, and we're seeing the investors cashing in on that. But what should we expect from today's NTB auction? Should we look forward to a yield jump on the long end of the curve, or should we look at investors vying for the short end of short position because yields are rising higher in that space?
Well, I expect an improvement in yield from the last auction. The last auction, the 91 days, closed at 6.47. 182 days closed at 7.9, and the 364 days closed at 13. We expect an improvement in yield. This is because liquidity in the system is tight. It opened 213 billion short, and rate in the money market is trading at 16%. Well, the auction today, the NTB, the amount on offer is about 240 billion. We remember that the last auction, the DMO couldn't retap all that was offered. 190 billion was offered, and only 34 billion was taken in. We expect some improvement in this space as 190 billion is expected to come in for coupon payments, and then the news of tax payments coming in is in the air. So we expect healthy investment and also improvements in rates across the short end of the yield curve.
So it's just the focus will be on the short end of the yield curve or across the bond curve. The treasury bill curve. What are we looking at? Is it the mid segment, the long end of the curve? Because we saw more in particular in the other auctions that the long end was the one that saw the pump more than the other segments. So is that what we should be expecting?
For the auction today, we expect that the improvement to be across the three tenors offered. The system is tight. The tightening stance of the central bank still holds. So we expect that yields will continue to trend up. So yeah, anybody investing today will look at what happened at the last auction and add add some pips to it, to get very tight across board.
So do we expect stable transactions, trading activities in the market with the auction today? What should we expect? What's your outlook for the markets today?
The quiet markets with some rediscounting at the short end. The market is tight. Liquidity is 213 billion down. So we expect that investors are going to continue to rediscount to try and create cash for themselves. So that's going to continue to happen while the auction goes on.
So thank you so much, Choma Udu, fixed income dealer, GT Bank, for sharing your thoughts with us. Now we move to the equities market, where we saw bullish sentiments persisting in the equities market. The NGX ASI moved by 0.73% yesterday to settle at 44,788 points. We're still at the 44,000 level, not moving to the 45,000 level yet, but we're expecting it to pump up today, and we're expecting buy interest to buoy the market, to boost the market. The mover yesterday was Boa Cement. It moved the market up 10%. Despite the 0.25% loss in MTN, this didn't stop it, because Boa Cement was on a roll. It added about 6 naira to its share price. It opened at 62 naira yesterday, and it closed at 68 naira 20 kobo. That's a very big, large margin for investors to take home. Now, we're saying year-to-date gain now has risen to about 4.9%, which is away from the 3% levels which opened the week with. Now, total volume increased by 120% to 159.21 million units, and the value was 2.73 billion naira, valued at all transacted in 3,385 deals. That's a sea of green for the activity chart yesterday. We're hoping that this will continue in today's trading session. Investors are going to take advantage and still position, because Q3 earnings are coming in and more market players are coming. Those, despite mixed reactions for the results that are coming in, that we're seeing already, the numbers that are coming in, but we're hoping that that would not, make investors get discouraged, rather than they will just look at the opportunities for fundamentally sound stocks and take advantage of it. That's what we have for today.
Thank you so much. And as you said, I hope the atmosphere is listening to you. Let's close the market. Let's do more than what we did yesterday.
We're gonna do better.
We have to get it back. We have to get back to that 59 point.
We're 50. We're 50, and then we dropped to 49.
Yes, and then we have to get back to 27 trillion naira.
We have to get back to that.
Let's celebrate Christmas in a big way.
Yes, we will.
Thank you so much, Will. Well, we move over to London now, where Juliana is standing by. It's been very dramatic. Well, a lot of new beginnings for the UK. They have a new prime minister now. And Juliana, good morning. Well, for Liz Truss, it was tax cuts. For Rishi Sunak, seems it will be wealth taxes. Yes.
Good morning, Ini. We're not sure. We're not sure about that. We'll just have to say another phrase I've been saying every single day. We have to wait and see. 24 hours is a long time in politics, but certainly in British politics, which has been a very tumultuous. We've had 3 prime ministers this year. A couple of big stories. First of all, the pound. The British pound is doing exceptionally well at the moment, up to $1.16. This is pre-Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget shambles and pre a couple of months. Very, very good. I'm not sure if Rishi Sunak and the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt can take much praise for this. I think it's off the back of a very weak dollar, but that's still very good. Secondly, and this is developing, we're not sure if that fiscal statement, which has been on the calendar for some time now, due to be delivered by Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, on Monday, October the 31st, Halloween, is going to take place. There are rumours suggesting that that could be moved back. Of course, Rishi had the keys to the Treasury for a couple of years. He is a finance man. I don't know if he's at loggerheads with his Chancellor. He's kept him in the post. But the fact that that's going to move back, how are investors going to react? Because, of course, our international financial credibility is on the rocks. We saw that play out in the markets and all of the reactions we saw from the IMF and other leading global financial organisations. So we'll have to wait and see what intraday numbers are saying. But you talk about wealth tax, you know, the Chancellor is a typical low tax Tory. That's what he says he is. He is the one, though, who rose national insurance income tax by 1.25% to pay for the backlog in the NHS. And he also suggested increasing corporation tax from 19 to 25%. That was reversed by Liz Truss. Is it going to be back on the cards? We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, a lot of wait and see, Juliana, from the UK this morning. Well, another thing we should wait and see is Heathrow. They said they need 25,000 new employees. Where would you have that number from? And are they able to pay them?
Well, that's an answer for a very well-paid boss, not me, Innie. John Holland Kay, who's the CEO of Heathrow, which has now regained the title of being Europe's busiest airport. It lost, I believe, to Amsterdam during the pandemic. But he's been on the airwaves this morning because Heathrow have delivered their third quarter results. And they're not bad, actually. They were at a loss. They were at a loss this year of about £1.4 billion. They've managed to turn that around into a 643 million profit. They were speaking about passenger numbers as well, which are still a quarter below what they were pre-pandemic. So I believe about 60 to 65 million passengers went through their terminals this year. Of course, they had a really chaotic summer. Everybody will remember there were mass queues, bags being left on terminals for days, sometimes weeks. People lost their luggage, and they were, of course, forced to put in a cap. So there were only 100,000 passengers a day being allowed to travel through Heathrow because they just couldn't cope with the numbers. They sacked so many staff during the pandemic. Many people didn't want to go back to that job. You mentioned that 25,000 number. The labour market is still struggling. We've got record high vacancies, and I think people in Britain want more for their life. You know, they don't just want to turn up to work and be slaughtered by consumers. They want something that I'm not sure Heathrow will offer, but if they want to get back to where they were in terms of size, they're going to have to entice people. But John Holland Kay said he's not expecting those numbers till 2025, 2026.
Yeah, well, we do wish them well as they search for that 25,000. Juliana, thank you so much. Will Ibong will be talking to you at 1:30 during Business Incorporated. All right, now let's head to the market now, the crypto market this time. And Ladi joins us here. Hi, Ladi.
Hi, Annie. Well,
good morning.
Good morning. So we're talking this morning. I told you it was less fear.
Yes, less fear, but fear anyways.
But fear anyways. but it's better, than what we've had for the past weeks now. It's just fear.
We just hope it's sustained. I mean, we're talking about the equities market too. We saw a slight gain on Monday. On Tuesday.
Right.
Monday, beg your pardon, on Monday. Then Tuesday, we saw more gain, 0.7, and we hope today we'll have 1 point.
It looks like that's the narrative with most markets now. You see the greens, but now you're hoping it's
because the dollar is tapering. Is that why you guys are?
Of course, yeah.
Is that why you guys?
We're seeing the dollar ease, so most currencies now taking that time to shine, and the crypto market.
Don't let the dollar hear you.
Well,
might just come back.
Well, it's obviously going to come back, but it all depends on the Fed.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at that now, 33 points, better than what we had, for the past weeks. Now, just fear in the market, showing that traders are less fearful in the market. It'll be interesting to see if we get to greed, at some point. Let's look at the market cap there, $972 billion. That's also up 5.01%. And we have massive volume this morning, up 153.31% at 127 billion, showing that traders are buying up everything in the market right now. Bitcoin dominance 39.81%. Let's look at the price of Bitcoin there. It did surge about 20,220, up 4.52% this morning. We see that massive volume there, telling for the 24-hour volume for Bitcoin, $80.23 billion, showing that traders are getting their skin in the game at this point. they can believe that the bottom might be in at this point, but it still remains to be seen. We know that dollar will start moving again and send everything crashing. But let's look at the price of Ethereum. $1,497, almost 1.5 there, getting to that resistance zone at 1.5, up 11.02%. We see volume traded 34. Big volume was seen for Ethereum also. Normally we have about 9 billion around this time in the morning, but we're seeing $34 billion for Ethereum volume. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning.
Morning, Rume. I see you're excited. I see your volume of excitement is also up with the volume we're seeing in the market right now, Rume. And I'm wondering, is it because of what's happening, you know, in the UK? We've heard that, you know, Rishi is kind of pro-crypto. We don't know that for sure, but that's the chatter we're getting, you know, the market. And now we're hearing that lawmakers in the UK are voting, you know, to make Bitcoin, you know, a regulated financial instrument. Is that what's popping up this market right now?
No, I don't think that is the reason why the market is pumping. You can see the US dollar index actually dropping to a 3 weeks low. It's you know, in every bear market at some point you see some relief rally at some point. So we shouldn't really get excited. For me, the price now is an opportunity to reallocate capital across board, you know, but a lot of people shouldn't get really excited now because the market has a way of faking out. And if you jump in, because I know very soon a lot of people will start shouting, oh, we're going to the moon, 30K or thereabout, but please don't be caught up. Possibility that we can crash down to 30% below where we are is very high. And with the fact that Rishi Sunak, it's pro-crypto, it's a win for the crypto space, and most especially in the UK. This is how you understand that certain leaders have a clear mindset. Rishi is pro-crypto, quite all right, and he has actually envisioned making the UK a crypto innovative hub. This is what it takes to make things work. This is how leadership is supposed to be like. And I quite like also the fact that the lawmakers actually voted, right, that cryptocurrency can as well be regarded as a financial instrument and product. That being said, I think last week it also came to our continent in Africa. South Africa actually made cryptocurrency a financial product. I was thinking that the biggest country in Africa, we take that route because we have a lot of interest here, and I want to hope and believe that our lawmakers can take a cue from what the House of Commons is doing to place a bill forward and study what this is about. Because for crying out loud, these guys are colonial masters, and we can borrow a leaf from that. Thank you, Ladi.
Yeah, quite interesting. And we also see Cash App also, you know, in the news. They said about 40 million users can now send and receive Bitcoin with Lightning payments. Quite interesting.
Yes, so Lightning is a layer 2 protocol that is built on the layer 1, which is the Bitcoin blockchain, to implement a faster payment. You know, Bitcoin payment is slow compared to other technologies that are actually come after that, you know, so that's the challenge for the flagship. So building a layer 2 is going to help it really work faster, so transactions can be processed in seconds, right? So I can go to the coffee shop or go order something for you, and ASAP payment is being made, so that actually settles it. But for Cash App, which is using that to be able to send and receive payment, Cash App has about 40 million users. It's also a very good development, exposure for the crypto space. And one very significant thing that happened in this news is that they exclude New York, which means that the New York state hasn't gotten their regulatory framework on such this technology. So I hope in the future that is going to create more opportunities for them as well. You know, so it is going to help exposure, bring people to understand that payment can be done. In fact, this is what knowing about at this point in time. I think this is the best time to understand this space because it's exchanging of value, and I don't think there's ever been a currency that domiciled on the internet, and Bitcoin payment is going to make the world. It won't make any sense now. That is how the automobile industry didn't make sense when it happened. That is how the internet didn't make sense when it came up. Email didn't make sense. But a few years down the line, if we don't position ourselves as a country and as a continent, we're going to end up as consumers, which I don't think we should be heading towards.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Rume, always great to have your perspective on the show. Thank you so much, Rume. Thank you, Ladi. All right, so if we look at the top odds market cap, we see it's all green there with Cardano, biggest mover there, 40 cents, up 12.38%. We see XRP trying to start that bullish run again. It's up 3.74%. So it's mostly green, you know, what we have in the market, But Rume is saying cautious optimism. Don't get too excited with the green.
Like the way he was sounding when he came on.
Exactly, even though he was so excited.
Yes. But anyway, I think when you're alive and you have hope, you should be excited.
Right.
Yeah, because there's always the prospect of a better tomorrow.
Even in a bear market.
Exactly, yeah. Even in a bear market. Thank you so much, Ladi.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Do remember that 1:30 Willie Bong will be here. She'll bring you the updates from the world of business, from the UK, from Africa. She'll be right here to give it to you. I'll see you at 10 p.m. for the stock market report, and again live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Do have a profitable business day. I'm Ini John McQuarrie.